I killed 11 plants before I figured out that drought tolerant is garden center code for you still have to water me, just slightly less often, so I got obsessed. I bought 13 different perennials that every nursery, every blog, every Instagram garden influencer swears will survive neglect in containers. Then I did something nobody seems willing to do. I actually cut them open to see which ones genuinely store water in their tissues versus which ones are just good at pretending. Because here's what nobody tells you when you're standing in the garden center reading those little tags that promise low-maintenance container gardening. There's a massive difference between a plant that survives drought by storing water in specialized tissues and a plant that survives drought by having deep roots or just shutting down and going dormant. If you're growing in pots, that second category is absolutely useless to you. Your container doesn't have deep soil, your plant can't send roots down 3 feet to find moisture. It's stuck in whatever volume of soil you gave it, which means those drought survival strategies do not translate. So I tested 13 perennials that show up on every single best plants for containers and drought tolerant perennials list. I'm talking about the plants that garden influencers photograph in their perfectly styled pot arrangements, the ones that nurseries stack by the checkout because they know you'll impulse buy them. And out of all 13, only 4 actually have water storing tissues. 4. The rest are living off their reputation. Let me walk you through what I found, because this genuinely changed how I garden. Sedum was obvious. I included it as my control because sedums are true succulents. When I sliced through a sedum leaf, it was exactly what you'd expect. Thick, fleshy tissue packed with moisture. You can literally see the water-storing parenchyma cells when you make a clean cut. The leaf doesn't wilt immediately, it stays plump. I've had sedum cuttings sit on my potting bench for 2 weeks and still be firm enough to root. That's genuine water storage. That's a plant that evolved specialized tissues to hold moisture reserves. In a container, this translates directly to survival when you forget to water. Sempervivum, same thing. Hens and Chicks are legitimately succulent. Cut one open and you get that same thick, juicy tissue. These plants are storing water at the cellular level in modified parenchyma tissue. They're not just tolerating drought, they're engineered for it. I tested this by not watering my Sempervivum pot for 3 weeks in full sun during summer. Didn't even wilt, because it was literally drinking its own stored water reserves. Delosperma, the ice plant, was my third confirmation. This one surprised some people because they think of it primarily as a ground cover, but Delosperma has those characteristic succulent leaves. Thick, almost cylindrical, and when you cut them, they're full of moisture. True water-storing tissue. In containers, my Delosperma went nearly a month without water and came back perfectly fine. Not just survived, actually looked good. Now here's where it gets interesting. Yucca was my 4th and final plant with actual water storage, but not where most people think. Everyone assumes Yucca survives drought because of those tough fibrous leaves. Wrong. The leaves are pretty drought resistant because of their thick cuticle and low surface area, sure, but the real water storage happens in the roots and stem base. When I examined Yucca root tissue, it has modified parenchyma cells that hold significant moisture reserves. The caudex, that swollen stem base that develops on mature yuccas, is essentially a water tank. Container-grown yuccas develop this over time, and it genuinely helps them survive forgotten waterings. But here's what shocked me. 9 of my 13 plants had 0 water-storing tissues. 0. And these are plants that appear on drought-tolerant container lists constantly. Lavender. Everyone recommends lavender for containers. Everyone says it's drought-tolerant, and it absolutely is drought-tolerant in that. But when I examine lavender tissue, there's no water storage happening. The leaves are thin and aromatic. The stems are woody but not succulent. Lavender survives drought through a completely different strategy. Deep roots, reduced leaf surface area, and the ability to shut down non-essential processes during stress. In a container, especially a small one, lavender has no access to deep moisture reserves. It has to rely entirely on whatever water is in your pot. I watched my lavender go from perfectly fine to crispy in about 5 days of missed watering. Because it's not storing water, it's just efficient at using whatever water is available. Russian sage, same story, stunning plant, definitely drought tolerant in garden beds, but slice through those stems and leaves and you find relatively normal plant tissue, no succulent characteristics. No thick, fleshy parenchyma cells holding moisture reserves. Russian sage survives drought by having an extensive root system and the ability to go semi-dormant. In a pot, you lose that advantage entirely. Salvia. Nearly all the salvias I tested, no water storage. I looked at Mainite salvia, caradonna, even the showier varieties. The leaves are thin. The stems are herbaceous or lightly woody depending on the species. When you don't water salvia in a container, it wilts within days because it has nothing to draw on. It's not a succulent imposter exactly, but it's definitely marketed as more drought tolerant than it actually is in container situations. Coreopsis did the same thing. Threadleaf coreopsis shows up on every low water perennial list. Beautiful plant, very drought tolerant in the landscape. But those thread-like leaves are exactly that, thin leaves with normal tissue, no water storage. In containers, my coreopsis needed regular watering or it looked terrible. It would bounce back after wilting, which is probably why people think it's more drought tolerant than it is, but that's stress recovery, not water storage. Echinacea, the purple coneflower that's supposed to be this indestructible prairie plant, in the ground, with deep roots accessing moisture 2 feet down, sure, it handles drought beautifully. In a container, those thick leaves and sturdy stems are deceiving. They look substantial, they look like maybe they're storing water, but when I examine the tissue, it's standard herbaceous plant material. Echinacea survives drought through root depth and temporary dormancy, strategies that don't work in pots. Rudbeckia, black-eyed Susans, same situation. Everyone plants these in containers because they're cheerful and supposedly tough. The tissue is completely normal. No succulent characteristics whatsoever. My Rudbeckia in containers needed consistent moisture or they'd wilt dramatically. Catmint nepeta, another frequent recommendation for low water containers. The leaves are small and aromatic, which helps reduce water loss, but they're not storing water. They're just minimizing water use. In a container during a heat wave, I watched my catmint go from lush to sad in 3 days of no watering. Gaillardia blanket flower, marketed as incredibly drought tolerant. And it is, if you've got it in the ground. But the tissue analysis showed nothing special. Standard leaves, standard stems, no water reserves. It just has good root systems when allowed to develop them properly. Agastache, all the hummingbird mints, similar story. Gorgeous in containers, frequently recommended for low water situations, but they're relying on aromatic oils and efficient water use, not storage. Miss a few waterings in summer and they show it immediately. What really bothered me about all of this is that the marketing doesn't distinguish between these strategies. Garden centers and online retailers lump everything together under drought tolerant without explaining what that actually means for container gardeners. A plant that survives drought with a 6-foot taproot is not the same as a plant with succulent leaves, but they get the same tag. If you're planting perennials in the ground with good soil depth, most of those 9 plants I just mentioned will absolutely thrive with minimal watering once established. But in containers, you need actual water storage tissues to survive neglect. You need plants that evolve to hold moisture reserves in their above-ground parts. So now when I'm designing container plantings, I only use the 4 plants I confirmed have genuine water storage if I know I'm going to be inconsistent with watering. Sedums, Sempervivums, Delosperma, and Yucca. Everything else gets either planted in the ground where it can develop proper root systems, or it goes in containers that I know I'll water religiously. The difference in my container garden success rate has been dramatic. I went from killing plants constantly to having pots that genuinely survive my chaotic schedule. Because I'm finally matching the plant's actual biological capabilities to the growing situation, instead of trusting marketing language that doesn't distinguish between drought-tolerant strategies.